Alright, so I hadn't made any videos in a while, and I've got all the excuses in the world. I'm out here with my red light here. It's December the 16th, and I made some videos back in October, and long story short, I made a big mistake. I transferred the videos from my memory card to my computer, and then I dropped my computer and it crashed my hard drive, and so I lost all my videos. So I got to try to make those videos again. Most of them are winter prep. Been real busy. I talked in some of those videos about the new job that I've got, and that's really kept me really busy, and I haven't been able to do really anything with the bees. So I just came to pick up some hives, 7 hives I left up here in Wilkes County for the sourwood honey flow. I haven't been back since July, so didn't know what I was going to get into. I just got all 7 loaded up, and I've got my red light on. I was going to show you some of the, let you look at some of the bees here. Alright, so these here are not too bad. I don't know how well this is going to focus. You can see some. It's about 50 degrees. And kind of going with my trend here lately, I've just been moving bees without any type of enclosure. There's a few crawling around there. Those are pretty light. Let's see if I can get where you guys can see. Well, not going to focus very good. You can see some there. There's one in the middle there. So those are doing good. This hive here, it was pretty heavy and got stirred up. One in the back, but not seeing a whole lot on there. There's one. But this one here, boy, they got ill. There they are. So we got them riled up. Best I can tell, I've got bees coming out of every box, and which is pretty promising because I haven't really done anything with these bees. I did not really get to treat them this fall at all. I didn't get to treat them. I have not fed them anything. No winter patties, no pollen patties, nothing. And these were all honey production hives, so it's going to be interesting to see what they look like. I'm thinking, because we got a lot of bad weather coming, if it's not raining when I get home, I'm thinking about using this red light to pop these boxes open and throw a winter patty on them and just see what they look like. Obviously gonna put the veil on when we do that, but that is very promising to see some bees and to feel some weight in these boxes. They all had a super of honey on them after the sourwood honey flow. I did leave that, and you can see a bunch of bees down there. I did leave that super honey, but there's very few of them have a whole super now. So we had a major drought, 6 or 8 weeks, no rain. So everything was pretty much dead, and we did not get our fall growth that we normally get, and we did not get any type of fall flow. Even my cows are struggling because my pastures did not get their typical fall growth. So that's it. Let's get them home. Alright, so it's the next day. I got a lot of those hives moved back over here. It was raining whenever I got home. It's like pouring the rain, or starting to pour the rain. It's been raining all day, but it's let up this afternoon. It's about 60-something degrees this afternoon, but it's going to get cooler over the next few days. And so I'm going to pop some of these hives open. Back here in the back of my truck, I've got some of my winter prep stuff here. My main thing with winter prep is what I call, let's see, it's the all right, I'm missing my camera. I got interrupted with a phone call. My big thing with winter prep is what I call the 3 M's, and that the 3 M's stand for mice, mites, and moisture. So I try my best to take care of those things. So as far as the moisture goes, I use the, let me see, where am I at? Where's my finger? I use foam board insulation. So there's two methods that you can go about dealing with moisture. You can do the elimination approach, which is your burlap sacks, your sugar on tops of the frames, anything that will soak up and absorb the moisture and get rid of it. Or you can go with a preventative approach, and I like the preventative approach, so I use foam board insulation. Let me switch the camera around and I'll show you some of my hives that are already done. So these boxes are already done. As you can see, we have our inner cover, and we have the foam board insulation on top. Basically, it keeps the inner cover warm, prevents the warm air from the cluster from hitting a cold inner cover and creating condensation. I also like to use inner covers during the winter, even if I'm going to use the Advantech tops. A lot of times I'll take those off and put regular tops on with inner covers, if I have them available, because I like to have that notch down. That notch down, for me, it's not an upper entrance. It's just a way for moisture and excess heat to escape this box from the cluster. So some of the boxes you'll see the bees will propolize it shut. If they do, that's up to them. They know better than me. But I do like to do it this way. So these hives here, like this one, still got the strap on it. I brought home yesterday. I don't know what kind of inner cover it has on it. I don't even know if it has a notch on it. So I'm going to be taking the top off, pop the inner cover off. I'm going to throw a winter patty on, and a lot of my hives, since we had a pretty bad drought this fall, about 6-8 weeks, no rain. I think I talked about that last night. A lot of my hives went into winter really lighter than I would like. So end of October, I think it's October 27th, when I made all those videos and I lost them, I put winter patties on all my hives, every single one of them. I put a 1 pound winter patty from Dadant on them. Went back and checked December the 7th, I believe it was. Every single hive that had a winter patty had eaten them all. So I threw another patty on every single one of my hives. But I haven't checked these. So that's kind of been my winter prep. I go with the 3 M's, the mice, mites, and moisture. Most of these hives, I will say, I have been somewhat slack on because they don't have a mouse guard on these entrances. Some yards do, some don't. I just haven't had time to do it. But I like to use mouse guards for the mice. I like to use foam board insulation for the moisture. And then obviously I use some APVAR and some oxalic acid for my mite treatments, along with creating, grafting and raising my own queens, my own bees, making splits and doing those things. Other than the mice, mites, and moisture, the only thing I really worry about is food. I like to make sure that they go into winter heavy. This year they did not go into winter heavy, so I'm having to supplement with Dadant winter patties. I asked some questions on the North Carolina Beekeeper Association forum or page, like the group, well, not the page, the group on Facebook, and some of the people had used the winter patties, and so I thought, heck, I'll give those a try. I've done mountain camp in the past, just not a big fan of it personally. I would much, instead of dumping sugar, I guess my biggest problem is some of these hives may have a little bit of honey in them. Some of them may not, but a lot of the times the bees will stay down there in the bottom box. So say like these two here, if they're down there in the bottom and there's a little bit of honey in that super, but not a lot, they may actually stay down here in this bottom box, okay? They may not move up into that super to get to the sugar. Well, I don't think I need to put an empty super on and dump 4 to 8 pounds of sugar on top of the top bars and then put a super with a little bit of honey in it on top. I don't want to do that. So I like the patties because I can actually take that super off, throw the patty on top of the top bars if they're primarily in the bottom, and then I can set the super right back down on top of that patty, and it'll be between the boxes. A few years ago, when I first started getting into feeding pollen in the wintertime and pollen patties after the summer solstice, after the winter solstice, I actually come around and I put patties on all my hives, and I would go in these boxes and I put the patties on top of the top bars, and I had a lot of hives die. And the primary reason, in my opinion, they couldn't get to the food. They couldn't, and even the stronger ones never really utilized the pollen patties, and it was because they were down in the bottom and the patty was on the top, and they were not going to break cluster and go up to the top to get it. Just kind of a duh moment for me. Just kind of, I thought, well, yeah, why didn't you put it between the boxes? So, oh, you live and learn, but that was just one of my kind of learning on my own mistakes. Put the patties, whether it's winter or pollen, on top of the cluster if you can. So that's why, that's just my 2 cents. I don't really like the Mountain Camp works, but it's just not my cup of tea. I just don't like it. So anyway, let's tear into some of these and see what they look like before it gets dark. So just opening this first box. Looks pretty strong from the top there. So I'm actually gonna just trying to pop the super and see what it looks like underneath the super. All right, so looking down in the hive, there are some bees in the hive. It's really just a super full of bees. There may be a couple frames of bees in the bottom. So it's just a good medium super full of bees. So we're gonna put a 1 pound winter patty on top of those. And they still have some honey in their frame, so I'm not really worried about that. I'm gonna come back. It is December the 17th. Most of my bees I fed like this almost 2 weeks ago. So I'm gonna be coming back like the first warm day in January and putting at least one 1 pound pollen patty on every hive that I have. So this is just gonna kind of be just an additional resource for them to hold them off for the next 2 or 3 weeks until I can get back and give them their pollen patty. So now that I've got that done, I'm going to take this inner cover, see the notch side, I'm going to put the notch side down. That gives me some room for the patty that I've got underneath here. Plus it also gives me the little ventilation that I need to prevent moisture. And my inner covers, I basically reverse engineered Brushy Mountains inner covers when I built my own, and so this bottom is flat. The good thing about that flat bottom is that when I put this 2-inch foam board insulation on top, the insulation sits flush against that wooden inner cover. There's no dead space or cold air there, so that insulation will keep that inner cover warm, and it will prevent the heat from rising and hitting a cold inner cover and causing condensation. So it eliminates the moisture problem that my bees have to worry about. Actually, you know what? I think that might be a shallow super. Now the good thing about having the detachable bottom board is these bees, I'm not going to really mess with them a whole lot. I always go through and do an inspection of my bees the first warm day in January, and I will see how many bees are in this box. I will start adding pollen patties to them, and I will leave them alone for January. Now come February, the first warm day in February, a month later, I will check their progress on the pollen patty. I will give them more pollen patty if they need it. And at that point, if say this box, say there's not a lot of activity in this bottom box and there's a lot of activity in that super, I'll actually drop the super to the bottom, put the deep on top, and I will put a pollen patty between those 2 boxes. So it'll still be on the cluster. It'll be on the super with deep on top of that, and you'll be amazed at how quickly they will move up into that deep and expand up. And by March, I'll actually be able to reverse them back, and I'll have all my bees in the deep. So let's check a few more. This hive here feels pretty light. It's my next one. We'll see what it looks like. The one beside of it was by far the most aggressive and the heaviest of the bunch. There's bees in here. I can see them trying to come out. I'm gonna let you take the first peek here. So there's some bees there. They're up in the super. Alright, let's see what this one says. I can already see the bees coming out of the entrance. Let's see if we can see some. Oh yeah, see them rolling out there? They're not happy. We may have to hit them with a little bit of smoke. settle them down. Alright, so we can see this one was the best producer for the spring of 2019, but it only produced a half a super of sourwood, so it didn't do too good with the sourwood. I can't see any notes on that one. I don't know about that one. Let's see what these bees look like. Maybe they won't eat me alive. Not too many up here. Alright. I'm not gonna be able to do this with the camera in my hand, so I'll pop these supers up and I'll try to shoot a quick video, okay? Alright, so we got a couple frames of bees here. About a half a box here. And we got probably about a half a super there, so nice little cluster of bees. They're not, you know, they're not packed by any means, but like I say, this box was light, I knew to start with. And probably a lot of it had to do with the fact that they just didn't get the nutrition in the fall that they needed to grow that big winter cluster. This hive here, sorry I didn't get to video it. They were again being pretty aggressive, so I had to smoke them and get them closed back up. But alright, let's go check a few more. Alright, well, I'm running out of daylight, and obviously there was no like in detail inspections or anything. I didn't really go through the frames. This hive here is pretty well, the bottom super there is empty. When I left this hive back in July, it was full of honey and brood, and then honey and brood here, and then up here was a super of honey. This box has a couple seams in the deep and then a medium full of bees. This box here produced 2 medium supers of sourwood and 1 shallow. So, you know, they're doing okay, but they got some feed on them now. They're a little bit lighter than I'd like to see. This hive here, also 2 medium supers and a shallow super of sourwood, so 3 supers of sourwood. And they don't really have, I think they've got maybe 2 or 3 frames over here, and then they've got quite a bit in that super. And this box here is by far probably one of the strongest. This box, and then maybe that one with the English top that's a little bit aggressive, are probably the strongest 2 of the 7 that I brought back. The one here with the green super, it's got the deep and the shallow are both full of bees. So not too bad, actually better than I thought, because honestly I figured end of the summer I went down there, hit these bees with some oxalic acid, and pulled some bees off to make some queens, and that's pretty much it. I haven't done anything with these bees. And towards the end, about, you know, the middle of July, we started in that drought, and we did not have any rain for about 6 or 8 weeks, and there was nothing for the bees to work this fall at all. So a lot of these bees went into the winter lighter than I would like for them to, but now they do have some of these, I think like this one and maybe that one. A couple of these I put 2 of the winter patties on, the ones that look like they didn't have a whole lot of anything, and some of them I just put 1 winter patty on. But not bad. That's 7 for 7 so far. As of December 17th, 2019, this winter, I have lost 2 hives, and they were what I would consider dinks. I mean, they really weren't that good. They were like maybe, they were some, let's see, both of them were hives that were like queens that I was carrying over, that, you know, I'd had some trouble getting the queens back mated and things like that. They didn't really have any brood going into the fall. They had went from 4 or 5 frames of bees down to 2. I mean, they were basically dying going into the winter. But I did have those. I probably should have just shook them out so I wouldn't have to count them, but I did not shake them out, so I am going to count them. So I've had 2 of those losses. So, but again, it is only December, and as the sun sets in December, we've only lost 2. But the hardest time for these bees is not going to be December. It's going to be getting through February. Normally, if I can get them through February, then I've pretty much got it licked, because late February, early March, we're going to really start to warm up. The days are going to have, well, by that time have gotten much, much longer. We'll have the natural maple pollen coming in, and by that point, you know, we're seeing drones, and these hives are growing and they're over the hill. So that's it. Just a little quick winter update of some neglected production hives. They are alive and well, and like I said, I'll check them all in January to and I'll start taking all my notes in January. But I can tell you, that one right there, there's a couple of these production hives. You know, the queen that was in this one, you know, obviously I'm not sure if it's the same one, but I raised her, I believe, in the spring of 2018. So she made it through the 18 winter. If she makes it through the 19 winter, you know, she's produced me some honey last year or this year. Definitely candidates for some breeder queens for me. Got some good potential. All right, y'all have a good one.